Welcome back everyone to the HSBC Life Live Well series. Today we are on episode 9. So as promised, we do have a special guest today. We're going to be talking about recovery and sleep, and today's full body work is going to be mobility with Mr. Lee Jones. Now, Lee is one of the men's sevens players and is here to join me for today's session.
Thanks for having me, Steph. Excited to be here.
So we're actually going to be working on full body mobility. All you need is a mat and maybe a towel. If you have blocks, always feel free to grab them or maybe stack some books up. But otherwise, we are just going to get straight into it. Let's get started.
Cool.
Lee's a little bit tight and he's actually suffering from a hamstring injury. So I'm going to prop him onto 2 blocks. So we're actually going to grab the 2 blocks. So for Lee and I, we're going to have different starting positions because he's more limited than I am. If you don't have blocks, again, roll up a towel, sit on a cushion, whatever you can to elevate your hips. But for Lee, we're going to put the 2 blocks next to each other and his bum's just going to sit down on here. So we're going to come into a pancake base. And now Lee is propped up onto 2 blocks there and I am not. So wherever you are with your hamstring flexibility and hip flexibility, if you find pinching, elevate your hips, okay? Don't try and force this position. Your toes are going to point straight up. We're going to start off with a rotation so that we start to lubricate the joint first. Now remember, your hip, it sits like this where the hip socket is here and your thigh bone sits inside, and we should be capable of rotating through the hip joint. So what we're going to look to do here is I'm going to place my hands one on each side of my thigh. So Lee's going to do the same. Now, instead of leaning too far forward, that makes it a little bit too hard. So I'm going to say, Lee, come onto your fingertips. So you keep your spine upright here, and as you're in this position, I want you to squeeze your quads tight now. So he's wearing shorts. You can see his muscles from there. That's what they should look like when you're squeezing in your pants right now. So in this position, what we're gonna look to do is keep our feet flexed, and I wanna slowly internally rotate. So I wanna think of spiraling the leg inwards, like you wanna get the foot to touch the floor. And I can feel it, and I know he can feel it too. The cramp is kicking in. We're gonna hold it there, lock the knee for 3, 2, 1. Slowly come back out, no sudden movements. Now we go the opposite way. He's trying to hide the cramping face. Close, and now pull the pinky toe down. So you squeeze the outer hip. Now keep the quad locked in for 3 more, 2 more, lock the knee. Yep, 1, come back out. Ooh, my butt's on fire. Small movements only, but they burn and they really, really open up that joint. Going back down, you find the sticky spots, you squeeze everything through the inner thigh, the outer hip, knees tight, quads tight, push your big toe down. I can see it through your socks. Push it down, push it down, push it down. Come back out, and other way, last one. All the way out, out, squeeze it, squeeze the thighs, squeeze the thighs, squeeze the thighs, and relax. Yeah, good news. I gotta watch him for the next set. We're gonna go to the right leg. As he does his right leg now. Okay, so same thing here. Quads are active. The first thing we're gonna do is internal rotation. So his big toe is gonna spiral inwards. It's like I'm pushing over. I'm doing my magic trick. Pushing, pushing, pushing. The magic trick is frozen. Go more, go. Turn that knee, turn that knee, turn that knee. Good, and come back out. Then come back out, good. Spiraling from here, his hips stay on the block, his spine is tall, so fingertips on the floor. If you need to prop it up even further, turn more. You can always put it onto another platform. Turn, 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 squeezing through the outer hip here. I wanna feel more in through there, more, go more, go more. Yeah, there we go. And then back out. So what I'm looking for right now, of course I'm supervising, but I wanna feel the outer hip muscles flicker so I know they're working really, really hard as you're trying to rotate. You're not just squeezing the muscles of your thigh, you're actually squeezing through the hip rotator muscles. So we're gonna go back in again. Now in, really work the inner knee here. So VMOs are on, turn it, really turn this in, turn this in. Don't move the leg, pull it back out, there we go. Turn it in, turn it in, turn it in, you're almost there, good. Keep your butt cheek down, keep your butt cheek down. Push this back down, good. And then come back out. Now, if you have big toes, you can't cheat. You have to keep your hip on the block. From there, come back down. Good, rotate, rotate, more. So I really wanna think of my hands prying his leg over here. He needs to use his muscles to pull it over. Go for 3, keep your left hip down. 2, and 1. We got 1 more each side. I know this is not easy. It looks easy when you're sitting here and it looks like you're moving your leg, but please try it at home if you're not right now. So again, going back in. Last one in. A little bit longer, 3 seconds, turn it. I really want to see the knee go in. Push this hip down, so as this hip stays down, go rotate this way. In. That's it, and come back out. Now the other way, keeping this here, turn it out this way. Yep, keep your chest that way. Good. That way, yep, nice, good. So his external rotation is way better than his internal rotation, actually. Open, squeeze. Yeah, there, more, and back out. And good.
It's a workout.
He's sweating. So we're gonna move on to the next exercise, same base. So from here, I'm making sure Lee's arms are not pressing into my hands, and I'm gonna use my knees just to guide his lower back to hinge from the lower part of his spine and his hips. So as you go forward, you're gonna pull away from my knees, pull your chest back. That's it. Now pull back even further. Now lean your belly forward. Really think of tilting your tailbone back behind you. That's it. Go lower. Go lower. You can go lower. For 3, chest up. 2, that way. 1 more. Now squeeze your quads, squeeze your knees, everything drive down, squeeze your bum, come back up. Good. 2 more like that. Pull your toes out towards me. That's it. Stay in that externally rotated position, going down, elbows back. Hinge, down, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Take a deep breath in. When you think you can no longer go, exhale, go lower. That's it. Hold. 2, chest up. Squeeze your shoulder blades. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. Go lower, go lower, go lower. Awesome work. Pull those elbows back, lower back. Hold, squeeze. Come back up. Push against me. Good. One last one. Peel those elbows back as far as you can. Keep those shoulders open. Last one going down. Pull your toes out even further. And going down. Hinge from the hips. Not the shoulders, hips. More from here. Pull this back, pull this back, pull this back. That's it. So really push your butt cheeks out towards me. This way, good. Now pull the kneecaps out, sink a little lower, pull the elbows back, squeeze, chest up, more. Stick your chest out here. Yeah, good. Hold, inhale, exhale, go lower, sink from here. Good. Shoulders back, inhale, exhale, down, shoulders back. One last one, inhale, shoulders back, go down, and come all the way up. Ooh, he's sweating, he's dripping.
That's really, really tough.
All right. So from there, it brings us to our last and final exercise. Poor Lee is gonna stay in that straddle or pancake, but this time we're gonna hold. Okay, so for the last little bit, it's just a static hold, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a couple of question and answers just so you get a feel for what Lee's recovery routines are like and why he actually thinks sleep is very important. As we mentioned earlier, he's actually coming through with a hamstring injury, but so far he seems to be okay. He's working hard over here. So if you are carrying an injury, always be safe. Remember, listen to your body first. When we come through here, we're actually gonna start by doing exactly what we did just then. Hands on hips this time. So instead of rounding this way, I want you to push your bum back. So almost like shimmy your bum around first. And now I want my lower belly to come down first. So as I hinge, I'm actually gonna use my hands to push my shins outwards. Then it keeps that outward rotation. That's it. And if you find that's enough, stay there. Or if you come down lower, start to come down. And then keeping that nice flat back. So as I stay in this position, I'm just gonna ask Lee a couple of questions. You can bring your hands in front if you want, as long as you can keep your toes out. So first things first, in terms of recovery, what have you done so far to help yourself with your hamstring injury?
Okay, so probably the biggest thing I've done is rest. It's just staying off it and avoiding movements that cause me pain or discomfort. And along with that, I do rehab exercises that the physios have given me. I have some soft tissue massage work done on it as well. Other than that, I try and keep my mind busy by doing something else, so I'm not focusing on rugby and getting back, and then just making sure I'm eating well, staying hydrated and getting enough sleep.
And so that's the big thing there, where you just mentioned so many different factors. You mentioned resting, sleeping, nutrition's another big thing, but pulling and also keeping your mind distracted. I think that's something that when we start to realize what holistic well-being is, to put all these factors into play and actually bring it all together. Now, what would you say is the most important thing for you with rugby in terms of how you manage your everyday life with it, carrying an injury, how to actually sleep well? Do you have a sleep routine or anything that you do before you go to bed? Do you sleep
Yeah,
X number of hours, or what is it?
Yeah, for me, sleep is massive, especially as an older athlete.
Veteran athlete.
Yeah. So what I've done is I put in a nighttime routine. So with about an hour to go before I go to bed, I'll do the same things every night. So normally I'll have like a hot bath, and then I'll do some light stretching, and then before I go to sleep in bed, I'll read, and then I try to go to sleep at the same time every night, and I try and wake up at the same time every morning, and that just programs my body into knowing that's the time when I should be asleep and relaxing. On top of that routine, I'll make sure that my room is dark and nice and cold as well. And of course, the part of making the room dark, another thing that goes hand in hand is minimizing my screen time, just so that my brain knows it's nighttime and knows it's time to go to sleep.
Yes, I think on that, that's a big one. I think we're all consumed by technology, and everyone is guilty of scrolling through their phone aimlessly. We've got technology, phones, tablets, all of the above. You watch TV before you sleep. Do you watch TV before you go to bed?
Not directly before. I mean, I used to, but as I got more educated, I realized that it was affecting my quality of sleep. And so now I'll try and stop watching TV within about 2 hours of my bedtime, and the same with my phone. It is challenging to start with, but once you put it into that routine and you make it a habit, you just get used to it, and you will notice a difference in terms of your quality of sleep.
Just before I continue with the questions, we're going to slowly come out of that. I didn't forget, it's just a long hold. So we're going to continue our chat, just bringing your legs together. So with that, in terms of nutrition, how do you see this as affecting your recovery? And do you have anything that you would, I guess what I want to try and ask is, what would you propose to the average population as well? Because not everyone is a professional athlete. What type of tips would you provide in terms of how to actually maintain this balance, but how to actually recover from not just injury, but from your everyday activities?
With regards to nutrition?
Well, nutrition and sleep.
Okay, well, nutrition-wise, it's just eating nutrient-dense foods, so lean meats, vegetables, rice, things like that. It's pretty basic. And then making sure you stay hydrated, not having too much caffeine. And with sleep, I would say the point about setting a time where you go to sleep every night, making sure your room is dark and your room is cold, and implementing a nighttime routine, I think for most people that will improve their sleep massively.
And that's what sometimes people call that sleep hygiene, right? So I think that's one of those things that people just don't draw attention to. And when we live in a life, Hong Kong is one of those places where people don't sleep early. They sleep late and wake up late. But trying to rejig that, do you find that you see people on a regular basis, or maybe even family members who are guilty of doing that? Or do you find that?
Of course. I mean, my family all go to bed late and wake up early, so they're not getting, I'd like to get a minimum of 7 hours, but I'm aiming for 9 hours every night. And if I'm getting less than 7 hours, I know that my recovery, my performance is going to suffer. And so I do see that in people I know, but it's up to them to change that, not up to me.
You took the words out of my mouth there. I was going to say, how does it affect your performance? But I mean, it goes hand in hand, right? So all of these different factors is when you put the pieces together, which is ultimately what we're trying to talk about, is putting everything together is that big life puzzle, essentially.
Yeah, and it's not just physical performance as well, it's mental performance. So it does affect people that are just working in an office or something like that as well, that aren't athletes. So you will notice a change in physical performance, but mental as well, massively.
Is there anything else you would like to add? I mean, I feel like this conversation could go on forever, but I won't delve too deep into it.
No, I mean, with any changes, it's difficult at first, but I would urge to try to get a sleep routine and try and get that 7 to 9 hours, because just longevity, feeling better, you're going to notice big changes if you do something so simple as well.
So I think maybe we can suggest for a challenge maybe for everyone out there, if you don't already get 7 hours of sleep at a minimum, let's try and challenge yourself to getting 7 hours of sleep per night for this week only. So start ticking those boxes, write it out on a piece of paper. I have a whiteboard at home that we tick at home, so whether or not we do it. And maybe that's how you can start developing these healthy habits for yourself as well. Do you do anything like that? Do you have checklists?
I have a wearable, like a watch that will record my sleep quality. So I'll see in the morning, I'll check, and it tells me if I've hit my target hours.
If you haven't hit like your proper sleep quality, what do you do?
I look back at what I did differently the day before. It might have been that I had a coffee too late in the day. If I've had alcohol I noticed that massively has a negative impact on my sleep, hydration. I might have broken my routine. So yeah, I just look back and see what I could do a little bit differently. I might be just stressed, so I might need to do some sort of relaxation technique or something like that.
Can you elaborate on what type of relaxation techniques you do?
Well, for me, stretching is quite big, and I also like to do some breath work as well. So I do something which is called box breathing, which is I do 4 seconds inhale, 4 second hold, 4 second exhale, 4 second hold, and I'll do that for 5 minutes. And I find that massively helps with reducing anxiety and just winding down a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. That was awesome. If there's any takeaways for you about creating healthier habits, again, start to write things down. Lee just mentioned that he actually reflects quite a lot. When you start to realize something is out of whack, it's always good to actually take a step back and realize what it is. But all in all, you're really just drawing together that self-awareness again. So thank you, Lee, for sharing.
No worries.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks once again, Lee, for joining us. And if you want to know more, you can find us online. So thank you guys for watching. See you.